isolated in terms of what species could migrate here, coming in on a wave or a storm. And so very, very slowly, something would come from someplace else and evolve, therefore, into very, very unique species. So our endemism is very, very high in Hawaii on both the land side and the marine side. We have just many, many thousands of species that are found nowhere else on the planet. So when we want to protect them, we want to protect them not just for Hawaii, but for the world. And similarly, we're a very young land, just in terms of millions of years, and that is very, very different from anywhere else, any island state or most ecosystems. And so therefore we are still evolving, and we're more evolved in the northwest sides of the island and brand new on the southwest sides, southeast sides of our island chain. And so that means we're as an ecology, we are unique, and we're still moving. We have, because we're a high island landmass, we have most of the major biomes in the world represented here in a very tiny area. We have, alpine.
For the president report.
You don't have an update for the group?
I have an update for everybody. Starting Saturday, we went to a conference, and good news, Tabby got awarded also on Saturday.
Now as our ohia forests are under threat on the Hawaii island from a fungus, rapid ohia death. But the forest itself is a very intact, beautiful koa ohia forest that provides with the ferns in the understory a very thick sponge that captures rainwater and feeds our aquifers, and that's where we get our water. The mists are captured on the leaves of the plants and soak in very slowly. So when this forest is intact, we recharge our aquifers. When it's not intact, we lose that water and mud with it down into our streams and onto our reefs. So we want very much, in order to preserve our native species, our forests, and our water supply, we want this forest to be intact. On the marine side, we have tremendous diversity as well. We have high levels of endemism. A quarter of our reef species are found nowhere else on the planet. In the northwest Hawaiian Islands, there are places where there's close to 100% endemism, species so unique that you can't find them anywhere in all of them. Some of these are very iconic, our Hawaiian green sea turtle, our Hawaiian monk seals, and these are representative of us. I think the other thing, because we have a very strong host culture, there's a very close relationship between humans and our native species. And in Hawaiian culture, many of these are aumakua, our ancestors themselves. And so there's a very important spiritual relationship that binds us morally to take care of them. We have, similar to India and other places in the world, we have a whole transformation that has happened in the last few hundred years of our islands and our society through, in our case, Europeans that arrived in the late 1700s and introduced, from a ecosystem perspective, introduced hooved animals to Hawaii. So goats, deer, pigs, sheep, and cattle were not here originally, and so our forests and our plants and our species did not evolve with any natural defenses to them. So the result is that these animals graze and dig and completely destroy our forests, and they've escaped up into the forest in the last couple hundred years, so that, where they are present, the forests are totally destroyed. This is something, you can see the erosion here. This is a more dramatic example of what's supposed to be there versus what happens. This is a fence. You're seeing a fence line along this valley. So you know, on the right-hand side, you're going to see, in this case, mostly goats, and on the left-hand side, they're not there because they've been removed. And so this has tremendous impacts as well on our reef systems, because when we have uncontrolled erosion, we have mud just going out and covering our reefs and killing our reef species. We also have introduced insects, in this case mosquitoes. They bring avian malaria and avian pox, and have done tremendous damage to our native birds. Our very unique native birds in the last 100 years have declined. Many of them have gone extinct, primarily due to avian diseases that are carried by mosquitoes that were introduced in the early 1800s. Also transformative is the impact of changes in laws from the annexation to the United States, and the intentional, in the first couple of years, transformation of our marine laws from locally based, locally controlled stewardship to open access. And because of that and modern fishing techniques, and really no significant protections or insufficient protections where we have them, our reef species have declined 75% and more throughout Hawaii. And some of this is due to the tremendous population growth, really in the last 50 years in particular. When I was growing up, the population of the state was about 800,000. Now it's less than the number of lawyers in India, but still high. And the other thing that has happened a lot since World War II is you have this tremendous influx of transportation lines, planes and boats, shipping, the ability to carry cargo from all over the world. So our huge threat to Hawaii is invasive species, because our systems are so unique and don't have defenses. And so a new plant, Myconia, ginger, we have plants that have come from, we have ginger from the Himalayas that don't act the same here. They take over because they don't have the bugs and the funguses that are keeping them in check there. And so they'll turn a forest into a monoculture of plants that kill everything else out there. And so that will be transformative for our forests as well. And then in addition, we have both new technologies that allow us much more aggressive harvesting, and also what you alluded to, Chief Justice, the disconnect in modern society, and particularly in urban society, the disconnect from the obligation of stewardship of our resources. But the opportunity here is to reconnect that. That's our opportunity, is to strengthen that and to reconnect it, and to bring that sense of stewardship back and broaden it in our society. The impact of this change has been a tremendous conversion of our native ecosystems. The green is really what's left that's in good shape. The red is completely destroyed. The yellow is very heavily impacted. So we have 4 million acres of land in Hawaii, and half of it is still decent forest. About 1/8 of it is really excellent forest still, and the rest of it is completely converted and is sort of lost. So our goal is to protect the rest, and that's where collaboration comes in. So one of the things that's so unique about Hawaii, I think, or we are proud to be able to do, is to work very closely together. And so this is an example of watershed partnerships that we have developed throughout Hawaii. There are a dozen of them now throughout the state, and they are composed of public and private landowners who are acting as stewards collectively. And so you can ignore land boundaries, you can fence and remove the hoofed animals from the core areas where it's most important.